Hello, my name is Philemon Sm. I'm originally from Eritrea in Horn Africa, known as the North Korea of the region. I fled my native country in 2008 and lived in Middle East and North Africa for 8 years, including 5 years in Israel. I finally came to America in 2016 and have lived here ever since. First, I would like to give you a little background where I came from, because many people in America do not know much about Eritrea. Around 1960, Eritreans started an armed struggle for our independence and self-determination from the oppressive and expansionist Ethiopian communist regime, which was supported by the Soviet Union, Cuba, and some American communists. At that time, Marxism was like the current version of wokeism in a sense that it attracted many young people because they thought they were more progressive than the previous generations. Our current president, Isaias Afwerki, the leader of the armed struggle, went to China in 1966 to study Mao's communism. When he returned, he used what he learned in China to indoctrinate the institution from within against the ancient fabric of our society, which was rooted in Judeo-Christian values for thousands of years. When Afwerki became the president of Eritrea in 1991, he made our country a socialist state through mass indoctrination using Marxist and Marxist Communist ideology across the whole nation. He implemented a mandatory draft indefinitely forcing all young men and women from the age of 18 until the age of 55 into the military. Military conscription in Eritrea is nothing short of modern-day slavery. Those who could not escape still live under this oppressive system and cannot speak about their experiences because the state completely controls the media. Many who fled did not survive, perishing in the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea and at the hands of human traffickers. It still surprises me to this day to meet people in diaspora who support Afwerki's regime, because some are brainwashed by communist propaganda and others are too terrified to speak up against the government. I reflect daily on the fact that I was one of those young men who, had I not fled, would have been a modern-day slave, with no wages for an indefinite period of time. I reflect daily on the miracles of my survival during those years in the Middle East and North Africa. Well, like all Eritrean students, I spent a year of high school at a military camp as mandated by the state. After passing the college entrance exam, I enrolled at my NEFHI, one of the state-sponsored socialist cadre college, where one is trained not in critical thinking or science, but rather in how to become a better slave to the state. While there, we studied anti-imperialism, anti-Zionism, and studied anti-capitalist ideologies. We read many translate books on communism, including those written by Noam Chomsky, a far-left American intellectual socialist. Throughout our training in high school and college, we learned to abandon our family values and national history and ultimately sacrificed our personal freedom in the name of free education, healthcare, equality, and justice for all. The outcome of communist policy was economic devastation and extreme political repression. Not only could I not earn enough money to support my family, but I also did not have enough money to buy a cup of coffee. As a result, poverty became bad. Inflation was terrible. Many people starved. Young people became tools of the state, imprisoning others who oppose the state's policy and sometimes even their own family. The president made the Eritrean Defense Force his personal military under the pretext of defending the country from external enemies with a particular focus on the United States. Life becomes so desperate that it became clear it would be better to escape the country in search of personal freedom and economic opportunity. I did not know where I was going. I couldn't fly because nobody under the age of 55 is allowed to have a passport unless you are a trusted servant of the state or the dictator. The military nearly killed me as I crossed the border into Ethiopia because of the shoot to kill policy imposed by the Eritrean regime. I walked for almost 10 days on foot through western Tigray until I reached the Sudanese border. On my journey to Israel by North Africa, I was treated as subhuman along with the hundreds of my fellow Eritreans who escaped the communist state. I learned thousands of Eritreans who became victims of organ harvesting, sexual and other forms of slavery, and even torture in Muslim countries such as Sudan, Egypt, and Libya. Hundreds were brutally killed by ISIS because we were Christians or infidels. Though my ancestors fought for 800 years against Arab and Islamic expansionism, but we were brainwashed to believe that the social order of the world was categorized solely by a struggle among two classes, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The regime taught us that religion, race, or ethnicity were not reasons for discrimination, so we were ill prepared for life's harsh realities. So blinded by a socialist indoctrination, we were like lambs walking peacefully into a slaughter pit. After 3 long, horrible years of exile, I made it to Israel. Contrary to our leaders' propaganda demonizing Israel as an expansionist apartheid state, the country provided 40,000 Eritrean asylum seekers temporarily protected status, including the right to work and live freely. To my surprise, it was a sanctuary. For those 5 relatively peaceful years, I'm grateful to the people and state of Israel. After 5 years, my dream came true. I came to America, the greatest country in the world. I'm very grateful for the privilege of living among Americans, a freedom-loving people that gave almost 100,000 Eritrean refugees the right to live freely and prosper. As long as we work hard and we can all achieve our American dreams. I myself had the opportunity to start my own small business and live peacefully with my family. Well, there are many things that I love about America. I appreciate the sense of nationalism and the tolerance for different ideas and cultures. I appreciate their ability to include different people from all over the world under a system that provides safety and opportunity for all. And I appreciate the system's foundation in Judeo-Christian value. I appreciate their love of God. Most of all, I love the personal freedom that I have here. The freedom to think critically, the freedom to form and express my opinion, and freedom to build a better life for myself. I did not have these freedoms and opportunities in my native country. I feel very honored to live among the American people who never compromise their rights, whether the threat to their liberty is internal or external. The concerns I have today, I'm concerned that the aspects I love most about America are being compromised and threatened. Many young Americans appear to be taking their freedom for granted. I hear them blaming this country for most of their problems. They focus on racially divisive rhetoric, ultimately pitting working and middle class Americans against one another. They undermine and reject the Judeo Christian values, the foundation for the very liberty they enjoy, and they see it as an old and backward tradition. For people like me, it's heartbreaking. I feel it's my obligation to share my story in an attempt to help Americans realize the threat that the leftist radicalism poses to national sovereignty, individual freedom, and value system that made America the greatest country on earth. Thank you.